Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Federation's Most Wanted, a Blake 7 podcast. I'm the Preacher 711, and I'm on a mission to seek, locate, and interview fans from across the Blake 7 fanverse. And I'm thrilled today to have a very early Twitter friend. I watched along her brilliant sort of tweet along fest of when she was first going through Blake 7. It's Hannah Cooper. Hi, Hannah.
Hiya.
Welcome. Thanks for coming along to join us. You all set? You all ready to talk Blake 7?
Yes, and I'm so excited.
It was great to see you pop up on the awesome Maximum Power podcast the other week. But that was
Oh
cool.
yeah, I had so much fun doing it. I loved listening to them do the first series and getting all different inputs. So I felt I did Hostage justice.
Yeah. What an episode to do as well. I was with you in your defense right early on. You kind of set out your stall that, I like Hostage.
I think it was when I finished watching each of the series and I'd sort of put out like my sort of rankings of them. They always seem to like prompt discussion on Twitter, and I was amazed like seeing other people's because I hadn't discussed it with other people, realizing that lots of other people rate some of the quite lowly stuff I consider really high, and Hostage was one of them. It was one where it wasn't really like the very worst of people's for like series B, but it seemed to rank like quite low, and I'm going, no, you all need to know why this is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a great point that various people on Maximum Power always make around, there's no such thing as a bad episode of Blake 7. There's something good to be found in all. Do you agree? Is that a mantra of yours as well?
Yeah, I think I like the sort of term least favorite, because even like the episodes that I'm quite critical of, I will always find something viable in there.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to get on to that one, as you know, for sure. So I'm going to dive in straight away then. So how and when, for those people that don't know, did Blake 7 come into your life?
I'd always been like vaguely aware of it because of being a Doctor Who fan and finding it referenced there. I think I'd started to become a bit more knowledgeable about it because I kept making Blake 7's Twitter feed retweeted to me, but I was really only kind of vaguely aware of the ending and the fact that it was something sci-fi with people on a ship. That was about it. But I kept it to, you've got to watch this. You've got to watch this. And so I was doing a project for the transdiffusion.com website, and when I was watching stuff like from each year through the 60s and 70s, when I got to 78, it happened to land on a week with Blake 7 in the schedule, and I thought, yes, I've got to do this. So I watched Deliverance that was on that week, and it's probably one I probably rank quite middling now. It's not one I'd introduce anyone to the show with, but it's got really intriguing character points. You can tell like, there's some history there. I want to know a bit more about this. The plot was secondary. It was all about the characters drawing me in.
Yeah. So if I was to ask then, what series are you? What one do you feel closest to?
It's series B. I think probably series C has stronger episodes, but I love the arc of series B. I really like the development of Travis, which probably sort of points out why I bring out Hostage. Yeah, I feel like we're bedded in with the characters, and I love sort of the run with like sort of Pressure Point, Killer, Hostage, Trial, all in there. You getting to sort of see as well hints of where the series might be going, with that discussion between Avon and Blake about sort of Avon bluntly stating, now I want this ship.
And in that arc then, what's your favourite Travis episode?
Gambit.
Yeah, I'm going to agree on that one totally.
I just wanted more and more of this Travis. I was quite disappointed, as I said on Maximum Power, at the end of Hostage, to see Servalan turn up, because I wanted to see Travis be off on his own more, and he's back he is sort of kind of doing that in Hostage. I like them having this antagonism while he's also still pursuing Blake. I'd just yeah, I think I'd watch a series of Travis within Gambit and Freedom City, and yeah,
There you go, Big Finish. We'll give you that one for free. There's an arc
just
for you.
go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what though? You said about Gambit. I love, as I call him, like Gunslinger Travis in Gambit with his cowboy hat and
Yes.
his cloak.
I
I love
made a
it.
little gif of him when he's at the bar and he just looks up and raises his
Yeah,
cowboy hat, like glaring across the bar. I think
he's
it's
great,
wonderful.
and I love one of the bits I love is when he's in the alleyway and Krantor's, garbage collectors, as they call themselves, come and get him, come and collect him.
Mm.
I love the fact that Travis is big, strong, arrogant Travis, space commander extraordinaire, and all that. Yet they take him out so easily. These are professional thugs, and I liked that. I like that. We're used to in TV shows. Oh, the hard man like that. He can only get defeated by the hero. I always like that they just bag him straight away. I thought that was
Yeah,
brilliant.
I like that I think I really like when we have strong characters who have been sort of quite you know undefeatable and sort of
Mm,
superhero like for a bit, and you suddenly show them being vulnerable.
yeah.
And Gambit is the episode where you see how much Travis has fallen. Yeah, that scene in the alleyway, but there's also the one when he's afterwards and he's just lying on the bed unconscious, and
Mm,
Servalan's there, and it's you're watching this thinking, well, she could do anything she wanted to him now.
yeah.
She could kill him, she could torture him, and well, she's like disables is a gun there. It's he is lost all his power
Mm,
that he had. His power was having the Federation behind him and having Servalan's backing. And yeah, I like that development of him losing his identity once he's
mm,
left the Federation.
yeah. Great stuff. So, are you Team Blake or are you Team Avon?
Oh, Team Avon. Oh, Blake's too much of a goody goody. It's I was desperate for Avon to get rid of Blake, and I really enjoyed that in Series C. It probably didn't go as I expected it to go. Sort of Tarrant certainly throws a spanner in the works
Mm,
there. It's not all plain sailing, and certainly by Series D, I start to go. Actually, maybe we needed both of them together, and neither of them are that good on their own. They
mm,
need to, Blake and Avon sort of need to balance one another out. But I think I kind of expected maybe Avon to, as just like go a bit more brash and have more stuff like robbing casinos, like in Gambit.
yeah.
But he's actually, once you place him next to Tarrant, you realise, oh, actually, that's not going to happen because Avon's a bit more measured and considerate before he acts in these things.
Yeah. I think that's why I always liked, I know it's a controversial one, but like the start of Harvest to Kairos, when Avon's out collecting his Sopron rock. The fact that it feels like, he's got the one thing he craved, this ship that can go anywhere, money in the vault that we don't dwell on too often, all this stuff. And now it feels like he doesn't know what to do with it. He's got it. What do I do now? I'd
That
always liked
uh,
that.
that makes me think back to Breakdown, where he's going to go off and like join like a research
Mm,
establishment, and think, well, actually, in another life, that if he could have had all this money he wanted, he'd have been quite happy off doing that. I think the fact that he was willing to consider, yeah, a life there, and that he'd be quite happy doing that, sort of shows he wants money, some intellectual stimulation, and he's not
mm,
really always getting that on the Liberator.
no. So what's your favourite episode then? The go-to episode for you?
Um, it does vary depending
Mm,
on the day of the week, but probably Star One.
cool.
It's just so much fun from
Mm,
start to finish. When you've had that build up to it, you think, "Come on, guys, you better be delivering something here. You've spent half the series building up to this, and it is so much fun."
mm,
Yeah, there's moments I love, like the dead staff hanging up in a
yes.
cupboard. Um,
Yeah.
so creepy. Um,
Yeah.
and when Avon shoots someone and there's blood splattered up the
Yeah.
wall, it feels like we've got a lot of things there making an impact, and it's there. It's right. In fact, it goes right up to the end. They're running away, and the bombs are set to go off, and then in between, we were at battle stations, and we're about to have this massive cliffhanger. You've got those moments between Blake and Avon that feel so significant, and you know, I found myself thinking back to a lot in the series afterwards.
Yeah, and like you say, it's got so many different facets to it, Star One. You know, and again, I remember sort of watching it back in the day. You know, it was like you say, the blood splats, the hanging bodies. It was all quite strong, even for Blake Seven.
You almost
Even
forget the fact that Servalan's in it as well,
yeah,
because she's not actually there. It's off having cutscenes, but
yeah,
she's doing all this fantastic manipulation as well that's going to come into play in the next series.
it was great to see her almost doing her day job as well. I quite like that
Yes.
she's there in her office giving orders, evaluating the situation, you know, deploying the fleet, stuff like that. That was actually quite cool, rather than just sort of lounging on sofas and eating grapes. It was good to see her being the supreme commander again.
Yeah, it's good to show that she is, like, you know, she's not just, you know, murdered her way to the
Yeah.
top, etc. But she is actually quite capable
Yeah.
at this job, as well as being, you know, a bit of a bitch when she has to be.
Yeah, and one of my favourite moments, other than obviously the ending, is brilliant. You know, with Avon and the fire controls or whatever. But I do love the bit when Travis turns up at the base, and Avon and him have their little head-to-head about, you know, shooting off a limb or two. You know, again, it was quite strong for the time. You know?
Talk or scream, Travis.
Yeah,
I love that line.
great, absolutely great. So then on the flip side, then, like we say, there's no bad episodes, but least favourite.
Um, this, it's hard to scrape them out. But,
Yeah.
there's a few kind of I have down there. The Keeper is one in that I find it so dull, and I feel that's the greatest crime. But I could also, I sort of say, similar to Harvest of Kairos. After there are sort of in parts of it, it's not dull, but God, it irritated me. As does Moloch. I feel like, oh, I want to go back and spend some time watching the episodes I consider the worst, and just to pick one. It's interesting. I've like a number of people don't really rate and Ben's Steed's contributions in that, but so I saw someone recently think that, oh, they thought Power was his worst, but I thought, like, oh, this was like a massive turnaround compared to Kairos and Moloch. There's a lot more action and sort of plot wise, and there's a bit more sort of strength to the female characters. So I think maybe then today, if I'm going with, I'll go with the Keeper, just because of dullness.
Keeper. Yeah, I mean, and again, I was listening on the commute yesterday, and I've shout out to God. I'm like the PR man for Maximum Power today. I was listening to the Maximum Power podcast of that one yesterday, and it was good. Yeah, they pulled out some good, strong points, but like you say, even with them justifying it and backing it up a bit, I'm kind of with you on that. He's one of the ones I wouldn't, if I was doing a Blake 7 speed run, it wouldn't necessarily make my shortlist. But then, like I say, there was a lot of crimes in Moloch as well. But then some awesome bits. Villa's great. Servalan's great. It's tough. Evil Blake 7 that even puts good bits in bad episodes. Yeah. So Liberator or Scorpio? What's your favourite?
Easily Liberator.
Easily. I like this. Easily.
Yeah.
Not even a contest.
I've been curious listening to over time now to people's defense of Scorpio, and yes, I get why it has to be a bit more utilitarian, but it's just not as fun. It's really not. No, I like having this sort of massive ship that sort of, the flight deck is gorgeous, and I like the fact that we have the sort of split sets and things, different things able to go on the deck and on on the teleport bay.
Mm.
You know, occasionally we get to explore a little bit more of it. And oh God, Zen.
Mm.
I just spent all of Series A slagging him off, but actually I've come to really love him and consider him part of the crew. And I
Yeah.
never quite felt that affection for Slave. I wanted to, but I felt like that there wasn't really that personality built up enough. I think it could be in Orbit that suddenly you get a bit more of a Saki Slave, and I remember thinking, oh, that'd have been good to have more of that. But we're a bit late at this point. We could have had Slave and Aurak having a bit more a dialogue to sort of make that a bit more of a differentiation with compared to Zen. But no, so I love Zen and I love the Liberator guns.
Yes, they are great. But do you know what? I've got both, and I do love a good clip gun though. I'm going to go. I might go with you on the Liberator bit, but I've got to go clip gun for the gun.
I feel if the original idea of the clip guns was developed where you had all these different sort of types of ammunition that get referenced in early on, and then never again.
Never again.
No,
that is true.
I felt like, oh, maybe Chris Boucher should have been suggesting this at some point down the line, if it'd been a bit more time to sort of try and weave a bit more of that in.
Yeah, definitely. So Travis 1 or Travis 2? Who's your poison? I thought you'd have an easy one for this. I thought you would instantly go Croucher. In my mind, right, before I ask these questions, I've kind of got preconceptions. I thought you'd go without hesitation Croucher.
I do love him for that arc, and I think they are both the sort of perfect ones for what happens in their respective series. I love Travis 1 for being so much more intimidating. He is, you know, he's tall and broad, and Stephen Grimes' wonderful voice brings such gravitas to that. He has presence, whereas Brian Croucher's he's quick and he moves suddenly, and I quite sort of like that. He becomes much more unpredictable, which really does match with that sort of character's arc. So while I feel like I enjoy that character's arc, it's another one like favorite episodes. Oh, what day of the week am I on? Which one have I watched last? I think I probably sort of Travis 1, because I do really like that he manages to bring that looming presence. And his outfit is so much better.
But I think you're right. I think Greif manages to come across, for me anyway, more as a military commander. I could believe it. Whereas, Croucher's one, he's lost his marbles and he's just a loose cannon. I can't imagine him as a trained leader of men, other than Trial. Trial he comes across well. But
there's that sort of discussion in Weapon where he talks about being adjusted, and you can read so much more into that. And I like what sort of Big Finish have tried to explore with that. And I really love Trevor Baxendale's Outlaw book that delves into these gaps in Travis's story, because there's so much more to explore with that character.
Definitely, and I think some of the really recent stuff they've done, like Allies and Enemies and After the War, that's had Travis quite heavily in them. It's been great. It's been great hearing them do a lot.
I've not listened to them yet.
Oh, well, I won't do any spoilers. Don't worry.
That,
well, you won't be disappointed. Let's put it that way. Very, very good. Great stuff. So Gouda Prime, big shootout, bodies on the floor. Who survived in Hannah's mind? Did anybody?
No.
Like it.
Really easy, simple question. I keep hearing sort of everyone's theories. It's nice, but no. I sense tells me, and no, the bleakness of this series tells me no, and I'm quite happy in my mind as well that to imagine what happened after that final shot. Yeah.
Okay. And have you read any of the sort of the post Galdapine stuff, the
I haven't.
Vindictuses, the
No.
Lucifers? No. Oh,
I've
that's another one day
I've
for us
got
to
the
talk about.
I've got the Lucifers to get round to. Having heard some of Paul Darrow's other writing, I'm trepidatious about them. But others tell me just go with it, and it is very entertaining nonetheless. Just in a different way than you might expect.
Okay, I'm not going to try and bias you that way. I'll leave it. Let's pick that up another time. Let's do definitely a Big Finish debrief on another one. So, what's your Blake 7 wish? If you could make anything happen for us fans, what would happen?
I feel like the thing that comes up on this podcast is action figures or Blu-ray or both. And I feel for Blu-ray now, as much as I'd love it, I feel we are possibly sort of past the point of which it could be at its best. The Doctor Who collection ones are the model, and I feel like you'd probably be needing to draw on some older sources and bring them all together. I think these things work best when you have a combination of both on-screen and behind and the scenes talent to be able to discuss stuff in detail. I've really loved stuff that has spoken from everyone, from producer down to runners, because often those runners went on to become producers themselves and work their way up, and they've got a lot of experience to bring in and give real insight into stuff. I feel I would still happily see a Blu-ray, but if it was choice between Blu-ray and action figures at the moment, please, action figures.
Come on, let's all collectively will it into existence.
Well, I had a go at making my own little cardboard versions.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a mini Stephen Greif's Travis. That was my first one. That's not fantastic, and I did Avon in his silver jacket. Not the puffer one, but the slimline silver jacket. I really like that outfit, and had a go at Blake in his billowing Robin Hood type green sleeves.
What a great look.
I'm not particularly artistic, but it was a sort of lockdown hobby, and I thought I reckon I can have a go at this. I'd really enjoyed sort of researching all the costumes and looking at sort of the different photos, saying, right, what bit of foil can I make this out of?
Oh, brilliant! That's awesome. I did look at over kind of it was the tail end of lockdown, I suppose. I did look into things like there's companies out there that will do like a custom Funko Pop and all stuff like that. And I did look at because the game I do is in Roblox, you can export the actual sort of 3D models of the characters out, and if you've got a 3D printer, you could 3D print them. And I went through all this hassle to do that, and only to realise that all I ended up with was a blank yellow person, and the tough stuff was going to be like painting them, which I have no skill at. I've got a whole collection of the Crooked Dice did this amazing set of little miniatures, like tabletop miniatures.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I bought all of them, so I've got this armada of them over there on the shelf, but again I've got no ability to paint, so they're just silver. So I'm trying to think, really I can't even help you with figures, I'm afraid. So yeah, I'm not going to be the guy making them, so there we go. But listen, Hannah, we're at time, so it's been absolutely brilliant to have you on. I do hope you'll come back, so I'd love to do sort of a separate Big Finish sort of debrief with you, because I know you've worked your way through the majority of them at least.
Yes, would love to. I've talked about TV episodes with people, and I've had as much enjoyment out of a lot of the Big Finish stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. And thank you to you guys out there for continuing to listen, like, and subscribe. We're up on RSS now. Hooray! Lots of you asked for that, so you can digest the podcast through any of your normal podcast seeking mechanisms. We're on Spotify and we're still on YouTube. So thanks again. Take care. Bye bye.